Could we reverse aging? Today we talk about a very interesting study and the satisfying results it has obtained. Now, this study was conducted by a research team from the Tel Aviv University and the Shamir Medical Center on a sample size of about 35 elderly patients, aged around 64 or more years old. And the objective of this study was to evaluate if and how two indicators of aging were potentially reversed by this oxygen therapy. And we're talking about two indicators like telomeres length and the senescent cell accumulation. Now, why are these two indicators linked to aging? Now, let's start with telomeres. Telomeres are repetitive nucleotide sequences that are located at the end of the chromosomes. And their purpose is to prevent the chromosome from deterioration, because during cellular replication, the enzymes that replicate the DNA are not capable of replicating the DNA until the end. So there is always a part of the DNA at the end of the chromosome that is not replicated, and this part is the telomere. Telomere shorten during the human life because, of course, since at every cellular replication a part of the telomere is not replicated, you get the telomere length gets shortened and shortened over time. So they are an indicator of aging because, of course, and this is linked to the second aspect, which is cell senescence, the cells have a limited amount of times they can replicate. And for this reason, telomeres get shorter and shorter until cells cannot replicate anymore. So senescence and telomeres are linked together and they indicate the age of a cell. So in this study, they used hyperbaric oxygen therapy to evaluate if these two indicators could be reversed. And hyperbaric oxygen therapy is a therapy where the patients are placed in a chamber, a specific chamber called, of course, hyperbaric chamber, where there is free pure oxygen. This pure 100% oxygen is provided at a pressure that is higher than atmospheric pressure. And with this therapy, the concentration of oxygen in the blood is increased, so there is more oxygen available to the tissues and to the organs. And this therapy is used for this reason for a variety of different medical uses. But with this study, we could also potentially use it to reverse aging. So during this study, they placed these patients for 3 months, for 90 minutes per day, 5 days a week. They placed these elderly patients in the hyperbaric chamber and then they evaluated the results. And what were the results? The results were that they observed an increase in telomere length up to more than 20% and a decrease in senescent cells accumulation by around 35%. So very interesting results. And they're even more interesting considering the fact that no lifestyle changes were required, because it is known that lifestyle has an impact on cellular aging. For example, things like diet or physical exercise, they have an impact, but with this study, with this potential therapy, we could reverse aging without any changes to our lifestyles. Although it has to be mentioned that lifestyle changes are also important, diet and physical exercise are always important, but we have one more weapon to fight aging. So how does this hyperbaric oxygen therapy works? Basically, it's based on something called hypoxic paradox, where hyperoxia is a condition where there is higher concentration of oxygen in the blood with respect to the norm, and hypoxia is the opposite, so when there is less concentration of oxygen in the blood. And hyperoxia is unharmful situation because if there is more oxygen in the blood, it means that there is higher stress on the cell, higher oxidative stress. And this is something that we would like to avoid. But it has been observed in other studies also that if we fluctuate the levels, if we fluctuate intermittently the levels of oxygen or free oxygen in the blood, even if there is an hyperoxia condition, the cells themselves are fooled, are tricked into thinking that there is a hypoxia situation. And why is this good? Well, the thing is, it's very good because hypoxia conditions stimulates several mechanisms like the release of antioxidants that are beneficial to cellular regeneration. So we can basically trick our bodies into regenerating themselves, or sort of something like that. And again, as I said, this is not the only way that we have to fight aging, but at least it's a way that we have right now to fight it at a cellular level. But then the question is, will we realistically beat aging? And the answer is that we have to see, because even the authors of the study have admitted that there are still some limitations. For example, the sample size, only 35 patients were assessed, which is not a big number. And also during this study, they did not have a control group. And finally, they observe results only after a short exposition to this therapy, only about 3 months, so they would like also to evaluate the effects of longer exposure to this therapy. But still, a good result. And for those of you that are thinking, well, seems good, but maybe it's too expensive, some of these medical technologies, some people say that they're too expensive for the poor people and they're only used by the rich people. Well, you're not so far from the truth, because unfortunately for the moment, hyperbaric oxygen therapy, as far as I know, costs about hundreds of dollars per session. So, it's not very accessible to the poor people. And maybe these therapies in the future, maybe they will deepen inequalities between rich and poor, but we can try to be optimistic. We can try to be optimistic and think that maybe we will consolidate these technologies and they will become cheaper in the future. Now, thank you very much for watching. My name is Paolo. See you next time.